Wow, we have been enjoying Serenity Wins now for over 16 episodes. Oh, wait a minute. I just saw that I needed to change that. Oh, you gotta laugh. Okay, so thank goodness the Martians were there because they made me realize again I forgot to change my little label there. And so it's like you look at it and you're like, hey, he's talking about episode 16. We've been watching this show for over 16 episodes. And then I realized, oh, I forgot to change the number 16. So, hey, you know what? That's part of the show. And I imagine when there's going to be a producer co-producing alongside, he or she, for that matter, I don't know how it's going to go. Hello, boss. Thank you, T-Bone. Yo, what up, T-Bone? So I imagine that the producer will be like, hold on there, Phoenix. You gotta change that number there to 16 because it's episode number 16 that you're taping right now. I'm like, okay, come to. So the whole spaceship thing, Serenity Wind, kind of fell off because as soon as I saw 16, I died. Et c'est la deuxième fois. It's the second time. It's the second time this happens to me. All right. Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Serenity Wins. That's right. I'm your host. Does it really matter? I don't know, but hey, call me Phoenix. So I want to give you a little brief description of what you're going to get into if you happen to be listening on YouTube. And for those of you listening on TikTok, and it's also going to help me figure out what I'm doing when Trump, Christopher Walken, Batman, and Sean Conery show up on our podcast. All bets are off. That same imaginative drive that brought me to drinking for over 20 years is now part of my recovering process. So why not invite Potus, Batman, and James Bond? Oh, James, on my podcast. Join us as we laugh, smile, and ponder at life's mysteries. Chuckle our failures and rejoice our aha moments and wonder what's life's next big reveal. A crazy date? A past romantic life encounter? An illicit, illegal, sexually charged proposal? Who knows? My show is about having the courage to transform my life when I almost lost everything. Perhaps an inspiration to some, a warning to others. This weekly true life experiment might help a co-dependent, be it alcohol, drugs, video games, food, or even sex. Oh, James, struggling to survive. With friends like Batman, Trump, and Vilnoosh, our savvy tech guy from Sri Lanka. Oh, thank you very much. We're sure to always keep it down to earth, fun, with some wham, bam, kapow, well-deserved humor. Whoa! Them a lot of words there for a podcaster. Yeah, well, you know, it's a work in progress there. Maybe at one point we'll just record it, and then I could just press the play button because the producer will have a thing that goes, you just press the play button. Hell, better yet, the producer will be like, I'll play the play button. Boom, and then they'll be dad, and they'll be like, okay, it's my turn. Hey, welcome everybody. Hey. But right now, I don't have the producer. I don't have the play button, so I got to talk all that. Plus, I just recently wrote that stuff, so there you go. Thanks for watching and sharing. And hey, for those of you on TikTok still watching, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Because as we know, everyone knows it's not a secret. I just want you to know it's not a secret that we tape 2 shows in one setting, right? So this is tape number 2. So welcome everybody. If you happen to be listening on YouTube and this is probably 3-4 days later, welcome. I hope you're having a good week. I hope you're having a serene week, right? Serenity. Not good, not bad, but serene. Just that nice middle ground where, you know, you don't get worked up too much into the highs, but then you don't get sucked down into the lows. You're like, you know what? I'm good, right? So as usual, And I guess eventually I'll stop saying as usual because I'll figure, well, now you got like 100 episodes. Everyone knows that you're going to do the serenity prayer. I know, but for now, it's as usual. All right. Dear God, give me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change those that I can, and the wisdom to understand the difference between both. The wisdom, that's the powerful word right there, right? You know the difference. You need that wisdom. JD's going to give it to you. That's how I talk to him. You're welcome to use that if you want. I don't have a patent on that or anything like that. And now let me get to that official stuff about, hey, guess what? This podcast is not at all associated, affiliated, or sponsored by any official nonprofit organizations such as Alcoholics Anonymous. Very important. With this said, we are happy to say that now the furniture company called Cruzo at www.cruzo.ca, CRUSOE.ca, is a proud official sponsor of Serenity Wins. And now with you promo code of SWD10, you can get a 10% discount. And this, of course, applies to all Canadian shoppers. We're not there in the States yet. My clients in the process of beginning that whole, we're going to the United States, but we're not there yet. So this promo code is really for Canadian shoppers only. All right. You got a lot of talking there, boy. That's the Chicago way. They pull out a knife, you pull out a gun. They put one of yours in the hospital, you put one of them in the morgue. That's the Chicago way. All right, okay. That's the Chicago way. Thank you, Sean. I'm there for that. Were you Sean or were you Batman? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, sometimes I'm both at the same time. All right. Well, I'm glad we got that out of the way. So, last episode, am I autistic or an alcoholic? I wanted to go into some words that I've eliminated from my vocabulary simply because they've been holding me back. And the whole concept was, being autistic, there's a discipline, whatever, you notice patterns. And there was 2 more words. I didn't get a chance to finish them because I got sidebar distracted talking with people on TikTok, which is great, by the way. Gratitude to that. And also, well, I'm doing a 1-hour show now, quote unquote. But I wanted to really go and touch on these words. So I'm going to start off today's episode with finishing the list. So the next word I want to eliminate from my vocabulary, and you're welcome to do that yourself too. Although it's a word that's used so often to describe positive views and ideas and visions, it still remains a word that does exactly that. It doesn't bring you to an action towards your goal. It doesn't elevate you to the point where you decide that you're going to do something. It's just a word that you have in the back of your mind that's nice to have. And the word is, I didn't bring out my drumsticks. Drum roll, please. Am I getting better? I didn't start my drumming class. I met Bobby, and we talked about probably this week he's going to give me a drumming class. All right, that was a sucky drum roll. All right, so the next word is dream. I know you're thinking, well, dream? Why would you want to remove that word from my vocabulary? Why do I remove dream? Well, think about it. Look, if you went to bed the night before and you woke up and you had a dream and you want to talk about your dream, great. Use the word dream because that's what it is. It's a dream. It's something that did not really happen, or at least it happened in the back of your mind, in your subconscious. Maybe it really happens. Maybe when we sleep, we really travel to that special place. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I'm just saying. In that context, the word dream is acceptable. However, when you talk about something that you want to do, a goal, an idea, uh, you know, a creation, and you use the word, I have a dream. This is my dream. Oh, I want to buy my dream home. Oh, I want my dream job. That's where I've eliminated the word dream. Because what you're saying, if you really break down the pattern, remember last week or last episode, see that's the autistic. It wasn't last week, man. It was not even 15 minutes ago. We talked about you being autistic and recognizing the patterns. Okay. But if you were on YouTube 3 days ago or 4 days ago, we talked about patterns, right? And I've come to realize that every time I use the word dream, it's the pattern that it gives me permission to talk about something that's not even real, and it gives me permission to for myself to feel good. But because I feel good, I the actions towards that are not, they're, what's the word, they're forgotten, they're ignored, they're abandoned, right? I talk about a dream and the actions towards that is abandoned because to me, I feel good inside because it's a dream. Also, very often people talk about a dream as if it's unreachable, it's unattainable. It's a dream that I have. How many times did I hear this? I've learned to play piano on my own. I started just a few years ago. I'm not that great, but I love playing the piano. And every time I share with someone, I'm like, oh, I play the piano. Like, oh. And by the way, it's not because I meet people that are like idiots or, oh. I mean, I've met people who are like, oh, or, but they all go like, I would have loved to play the piano. I would have loved to play. I always dreamed of playing the piano. Piano. You know, the point is, they talk about it like it's unattainable, and I always tell them, I'm like, well, why is it too late? Are you still breathing? Are you alive? Are you able to move your fingers and your limbs? And are you able to? Yeah, but no, it's too late. Well, no, it's not too late. So eliminate the word dream because it just puts further distance between where you want to go. Now, if I remove the word try, then I replace it with begin or do. And that's why I'm very careful what I say. I'm going to do. There's no longer I'm trying, I do. Dream is the same thing. Okay, so instead of having a dream, you have a vision, you have a direction, you have a plan. These are things that you can begin putting into action. If you have a vision, therefore, you need to put more details into it. If you have a plan, you have to write down how you're going to go about it. If you have a direction, then you have to write the steps that are going to bring you to that. And all these are positive actions that you can take and do. And that is awesome. So whenever you do talk about that goal, that house you want to buy, the girlfriend you want to seduce, the job you want, all those things, you actually have a plan. Versus if you say, oh, I have a dream. I have a dream. This is a great man, Martin Luther King. I don't know his speech by heart. Maybe one day I'll bring it up and I'll try to do him justice. And maybe that's the only time where you can use the word, I have a dream, right? Imagine he would have changed that word. I have a vision. I see. Instead of saying I have a dream, I see when the color of a man will no longer be, the justice. You know what? I'll do that. Okay, I'll make a mental note. I'll even punch it in somewhere on the sheet. I have a dream. Martin Luther, MLK. There we go, MLK. I think I'll understand that. So And finally, the third word, and this is the one, and this is very personal because this is the word that really screwed me over for several decades because so I was so flattered by that word. I was so like, oh wow. Did you hear that? Did little old me hear? Did she or he just say that about me? Wow, they really get me. They understand me. I feel so good inside because they were giving me a compliment. They were. But in the end, it was really a big zero because it meant nothing. And what's that word? And we hear it so often. And until recently, I used to talk about it, like even with others, and I'm like, no, 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 no. And the word is potential, right? Oh, you have so much potential for this job. Oh, you have so much potential in the industry. Oh, you have so much potential, girl, to be a designer. Oh, there's so much potential. Man, when I would hear that, that would kind of give me that permission to like, okay, well, whatever I'm doing right now, it's working because I have potential. People see that I have potential. And then if from there on, it would just like crash. Like, okay, so what are you doing with that? Well, it turned out I didn't do anything. But I had potential, right? I had potential. I have so much potential. You have so much potential as an individual, so much potential as an influencer, as a marketing guru, so much potential, right? We throw that word around like so much potential. You have so much potential to be happy in your life. You have so much potential to have the things that you want, your dreams, but I don't know, I describe myself as recognizing patterns. For the life of me, I'm stunned that I didn't discover that pattern earlier on. Like it literally took me in my 40s to figure that one out rather than in my early 20s or even 30s. Like, because it's one of those words, it just wraps you in that sense of feeling good, of like, I'm accomplishing things. And you're not. You're you're demonstrating to others that you're in the process of doing something, of accomplishing, but it's a potential. That means the pure potentiality, it's not really there yet. There's possibilities. See, even possibility would be a better word because at least it's right in your face. Look, I'm not saying you're going to achieve, this position, but there is a possibility when you perform properly that you will be elevated to the next level versus you have the potential to get to the next level, right? Because when people hear potential, they're like, oh, wow, I heard the word potential. That means I'm really doing something good right now. People are recognizing I feel good inside. There's like a feeling of satisfaction. You know what? I'm going to go celebrate and have a beer now. That's right. I'm going to go have a beer because I have potential. And I guess eventually that's probably what I did every now and then. So I've eliminated that word. And when I hear people using it, I make a slight hand gesture and I say, may I interject here if I may? And they're like, yeah, sure. And then I explain to them, perhaps there could be a better word that they can use. And they're always like, what's the matter with this guy? Is he autistic? What is he, an alcoholic? What's the matter? No, they don't really say that, but maybe they might be thinking it. I've just learned with time that it doesn't matter what people think. And most likely, it doesn't matter what people think. And the reason why I say it to them, it's as much as I like to believe there's part of me that's like, I want to show them, or I think it's also just about making sure that I also understand it by repeating it to myself, by sharing it with someone else. It's like kind of that bing, 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 bing kind of effect. Is that a technical term? Can we use that? Sure, on a podcast that everyone's listening to and they're not actually watching because they're gardening, they're doing their kitchen. I don't know how often I have to say this, but I do have to say it because this is what I want. I want a podcast. We are, and when I say we, I mean me, Batman. We're really happy. We're looking at it. I'm Sean Conery. Oh, James. We, as in all my multiple personalities, we are looking into getting on Spotify. I'd love, would that be my ego being flattered? I don't know. Maybe just because we'd reach more people down the road. It's like, hey, you don't have YouTube, you got Spotify. Did this and got this. So my good friend Frank explained to me the steps about it. Now this week I have to make some emails and calls and probably put my stuff more and more together. So we're advancing. I'm not talking about the potential. I'm talking about the direction. We're taking that direction, and I'm really happy about that. Okay. Darn it, man. Talk 20 minutes just on that word there. 2 words. You talked about one word you talked about on the other episode, and then you bring in 2 words, and you're already down to 20 minutes. What the heck's the matter with you? You got to talk about the things. I know we got to talk about the thing, but, all right. Okay, so let's get into today's subject. And this one, I kind of alluded to it last week, but today I really want to get into full details about it. Because, thanks for the share. I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing the live. That's right, I got people on TikTok. Hey, people on TikTok, welcome. I love that. Thank you. Keep sharing, keep tapping. Tap, share. Which, by the way, was actually the subject that I was supposed to talk about on the last episode, and then it would just whatever that means. It's so the topic matter that we're going to continue with or start off with: finding balance in our life. And I know that I talked about last episode how I found the balance of realizing that I was having a bad day and it was all right. And I remember I talked to, I can say it, Lewis. Lewis is, he's a member. I've been meeting him, of course, at meetings. He's also been friendly enough or kind enough to invite me twice now over at his home, we went there, I think it was on Friday. I went there with another member. And he is a man full of wisdom, to say the least. He inspires me by the words that he uses, by the life that he's lived, and by the way he functions in the present moment. And so I told Lewis, I said, by the way, Lewis, is it all right if I use your name? But I'm going to kind of twist it around. I'm going to call you Lewis. He said, yeah, I don't care. And I said, my next podcast episode, so I should have said, the one after the one, whatever, the one, man, so man. All right. Episode number 16. Of course, I had planned episode 15, but see, that's maybe the autistic in me. They're going, no, that's discipline. That's like organization. You're trying to make it clear for people to understand what's going on. All right. I said, I'm going to talk about finding balance because I realized, first of all, on my own, but also I've been talking to a few members. I said, you think that's a good subject? And he looked at me and he said, it's not just a good subject. He said, it's an excellent topic. Because as alcoholics, that is probably imperative that we find our balance between our spirituality, our balance between our tasks, our balance between our personal life, our family life. If we don't have balance, if we're not well with ourselves, if there's a unbalance, if like the scale tips too much on one side, we are fucked. We are, and literally I say this for Joe out there, we are fucked for the simple reason that once obsession kicks in, who knows where it can lead us? we can start lying to ourselves and saying, you know what, I'm not that much of an alcoholic. I haven't had a drink now in 2 years. I could probably have a beer and get away with that, but then you have another beer and then another beer. So he said that's a great subject. And I was talking with a few other members, and one that's not a member. Shout out to Odie, and he even told me, he said, yeah, he's definitely the subject of balance is so important, because he was sharing with me how he was working a lot. He's working a lot, and obviously he's working a lot on his own work, but he's also got like taking care of this big event that he's organizing. And then on top of that, he's also in charge of booking the bands for the great shows. If you happen to see it, eventually we'll have the technology, right? Right, Vishnu? Oh, yes, eventually you can do the live from the place, and we could put that right into Serenity Winds, and then people can see, oh, okay, he's not so boring. He likes a good electric guitar every now and then. Thanks, Vishnu. It's Vishnu. Whatever. Thanks, Vishnu. Vishnu. Yeah, all right. So he says, I don't know where to put my head anymore. I'm like a chicken with a cut head off, running around. And so he also convinced me. Well, didn't convince me. It was another one of those signs. Like, okay, balance is important. Now, I was thinking, well, I'm probably not the first guy to talk about the importance of balance. Why should I? What can I bring to the table that hasn't already been said? Probably very little. However, you can never hear enough of a positive message. The more we hear it, the more it registers inside our subconscious mind. And that is the key. Registering it to one point, it's in our subconscious mind. And that's what I want to talk about, finding the balance. So, here, let me find the balance with the camera. I gotta find the camera's a little. Yeah, that's better. All right. So let's talk about finding the balance. And let's begin with, what kind of balance are we talking about? I'm talking about the whole scale, the whole scheme of colors of balance, like everything. Because last week, I had a moment where my balance was about acknowledging that bad days are also part of a balanced life. I'm not saying 20 bad days in a row. I'm just saying if you've had like, let's say anywhere between 10 to 14 good days, or days that are serene, days where you're like calm, well, you don't fly off the handle, and you're breathing. Obviously you're breathing, you're just relaxed. Things don't get under your skin. Even if you've had like 10 days like that, thanks. Then if you have, how's it going, booty? That's the name, by the way. It's not, I'm not making that up. Like that's the name on TikTok, booty. So then you accept that if you have one bad day, or during that bad day that you don't feel too good, just the idea of giving yourself permission to say, I'm not having a good day, and it's all right, then that changes everything. And I think that in itself is one of the aspects of balance that we can adhere to, we can hold on to, we can actually incorporate. Because I know the next time, and I don't want to say that I'm going to have a bad day. Obviously, no one wants to say you're going to have a bad day. Because you can't predict the future. I can. I got a bad future predictor. I call it the bad ticker. The what? The bad ticker. Yeah, I don't think that's a good name. You got to work on that. You're right. I'm going to go back now to the bad cave. You do that. You can't predict. You can't. The Bat Ticker. Yeah. Welcome to another edition of Wow. Wow. Tonight on our episode, we have the Bat Dicker. Right. Okay. Hey, this show is for everyone, not just the women, but also there we go. All right. I kind of lost the train of my thought there, but you can't predict the future. So there might be a day that you're not having a good day, you know? And by giving the permission to say, it's just part of life. It's all right. You've already made that bad day somehow better. And I want to be careful what I say because I don't want to be like testing the gods out there and say, oh, did you just say that? Let's find out if this is true, you know? I do know that last week, once I gave myself that permission, maybe 30 minutes before going to bed, there was already some tension being released. I was already feeling like, oh, right. Yeah, this makes sense now. So that's definitely one of those aspects of balance. And the other one, too, that we can talk about is how you schedule your time. I have a project that I'm working on. It will remain a secret until it's time to be released. I find myself once in a while spending many hours behind the computer working on this project. And the challenge is I'm still at the point where working with my client 3 days a week is still part of the program. I can't say that it's not, I don't want to bullshit you. I don't want you to think, oh, wow, I got this guy, Serenity Wins, and he's got this podcast. He must be making millions. Not there yet. That's the direction. That's what we're hitting for. But, so I have to work those 3 days a week. And when I was thinking I had a lazy mind, I'd pretty much come back from those 3 days a week, and just kind of slowly work a little into my project. And I'm like, oh, what you gonna do with that? Whatever that means. Now that I realized and I said, you know what, God, help me get rid of my deficiency. And the lazy mind was certainly one of those. I find myself coming back from work and after eating well and taking the time to kind of do my resting period, I want to put in a few hours, during, in the evening, say from 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, whatever. And it's not work as such because I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. Like I never thought I'd actually say, yeah, man, working with Excel and crunching numbers and projections. I love that. Oddly enough, here I am saying exactly that. Like, yeah, what's the KPI? And I'm learning because I'm excited because through what I'm doing, I'm also learning, which is also part of what I'm going to be doing. And it's just a complete thing all put together. So now you talk to me about, well, what's the runway on your business there? Or what's the key KPI? And I'm like, I actually understand what that means. And that to me is like, wow, I got smarter suddenly. And sometimes I could see the time running away from me. I'll be like, oh, I'll just put another half hour, another hour, whatever. And then it's like midnight. I'm like, okay. And that's when I realized, okay, now you went from being productive, having a productive mind to going a little on the obsession, right? You're not going to finish everything by midnight. You have to go back the next day and continue. So why not stop at, say, 11 and get yourself to bed as you're supposed to? Or even this weekend, I was working. And then at one point, because of my internet, it started slowing down and I was like getting all worked up. And I said, you know what? Perhaps this is a sign. If the internet is slow, things are a little slow, walk away, do something else, which is what I did. So the balance, and part of that is listening to our internal clock, because we all have an internal clock. I can't believe that I'm the only person here who described myself as possibly, not potential, possibly autistic. I don't even know why. I got to stop that because clearly I'm far from being autistic. Even yesterday, O said to me, she said, well, if you're serious about that, you can go and get yourself tested. I'm like, oh no, wait a minute. Was it her? Anyways, some chick over the weekend said, if you're serious about that, you can go and get yourself tested. I'm like, I'm not going to go get myself tested to see if I'm autistic. That's ridiculous. I got the bad predictor. Do you? Do you, Batman? Or was that Sean Conery that had the bat? I'm Sean. I have the bat. I have. All right, Sean. I think you and Batman should go in the Bat Cave and figure out who's who right now. Because clearly you're kind of a little confused there. So, hey, Lac Doré. Oh! Zzz. Zzz. Lac Doré. From Lac Doré. Who's that? Zzz. All right. I know you know me because clearly you talk about Lac Doré. Zzz. All right. So let's get back to because obviously I'm getting a little sidetracked here. So the balance, right? So find out what your balance is and you'll just listen to your internal clock and you'll figure it out. You'll be like, okay, you know what? When I work too much, I come back home and I get irritated by the little things. Or if I don't do my exercises as I know I want to do and I'm supposed to do, I know that inside I feel like I've let myself down. So finding balance. When you wake up in the morning and if you're an addict, if you're struggling, if you're in the process, if you're in the fellowship, read something. Read a little book that's from the fellowship. You know, there's the big book, right? The big AA book, but then you have like quotations of the day, you have Bill's reflections, you have all these books, these tools that are in your fingertips. Use them. That's what they're there for. And that's balance. So in the morning, I try to at least read 1 or 2 pages. You don't have to read a whole book. Obviously, you got your whole day to plan ahead. So even if you just read like even a paragraph, it doesn't matter. But find the balance, right? For those of you who are out there who are in the program, continue. That's how we do it. We find something and we find the balance. Because if we don't find the balance, the results can be, and I don't want to be like, foreseeing drama, but if you don't find the balance, things can tip over very quickly. And I know because last week was really weird. I heard about 2 members who fell off the wagon, and they were both not age-wise. Well, yeah, they were. They were in their 20s, but they were also young in the fellowship. And when you find out that a member, and one of them actually texted me, he said, "Oh man, I'm really in deep shit. I wasn't feeling good, and I drank last night, and I got stopped over by the cops, and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Oh man." And then I felt powerless. I was like, all I could say was like, go to a meeting, talk to your sponsor, and read the literature. That's all you can do. That's the program, the 12-step program. Go to a meeting, talk to your sponsor, and read the literature. So I couldn't do anything for him. I really couldn't. And I was like, and had he been in the neighborhood, I would have said, well, go to a meeting. But he's not. And he said, well, my permit because he didn't tell me right away that his permit was suspended. Right? He just told me that he fell off the wagon. I'm like, okay, well, go to a meeting today. And he's like, yeah, but I got stopped by the cops. So obviously, you know what that means, right? That's like thousands of dollars. It's like the cars and this I know because I've been there. So my truck was impounded for 1 month, and then my permit was suspended for 3 months. And then I had to go to an evaluation to demonstrate that I was at the time, not an alcoholic, which, by the way, I got away with. I did because I'm also a very intelligent man. And then I got back my permit. So I was very, 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 very lucky. I could say that it was an illegal seizure, which is actually what I used to say when I was like, I'm so angry, I'm going to get a illegal seizure. What, you know, good morning, good evening, officer. What's the reason for pulling me aside? They have to have, what's the term? There's a term. I'm getting a blank. But, anyways, what's your probable cause? And they didn't have any. They just saw me kind of turning onto the street when they were like facing me, and they just decided to follow me. And then I went into a driveway, and then so I could say it was an illegal search, an illegal seizure, because I told them, I said, look, I can't stop you from taking my truck, but you have no probable cause. You did not tell me the probable cause, so I'm not going to blow into your little balloon. Had I blown into the balloon, would the balloon have said, woo, pop? It's potential. There's potential there, possibilities. So when the member said to me that he got picked up by the police yesterday, I knew exactly everything that was going on. And obviously, he's got to go back into a meeting. And the other meeting, and the other guy too that I bumped into, which I think I mentioned some of that in my crazy date episode. And I think I'm using the word thing. If I'm being, if I'm looking at a certain pattern, somewhere both of these guys or both of these members, because they're guys, whatever, they lost their balance at one point during that day. When they went to that bottle, when they went to whatever it is that they go to when they're not feeling well, they lost their balance. That's what can happen when you don't find your balance. And it can happen to anyone, So finding balance is the key to living a good life and a serene life. And that means understanding that as much as there's going to be some good stuff around, every now and then there's also going to be some bad stuff. And being aware that there can be some bad stuff already gives permission to say, all right, rather than focusing on the problem now, we're going to focus on the solution. Because it's when you focus on the solution that the problem begins to dissolve. If you do the opposite, if you focus on the problem, believe me, that problem starts to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow. And it takes strength. It takes courage. It takes courage to do that. You don't get there overnight. You don't get there just by yourself. You get there also with your spirituality. I used to think that I was a very spiritual person. I have to admit, joining the movement has opened that door way more wider, much wider than what I thought I was. And I'm happy it did, because I feel that I'm accompanied. Sometimes I have to speak in front of people, and you'll say, yeah, you do a podcast, so you're at ease talking. I'm at ease talking, but I never know what's going to come out of my mouth. And I do admit that sometimes when I'm talking in front of people, especially in a large hall with like over 200 people watching me, I just before I go on, I say, make those words come to me. That's all I ask them. I say, I don't know what I'm going to say, but and usually what happens is I feel it from my heart. I speak from my heart. And then people will say the exact same thing. They said, when you spoke, it vibrated with me. It resonated because we could feel that you were talking from your heart. And I'm like, yeah. So I ask JD, I ask him, bring the words to me. And what he does is, I guess he says, okay, I'm going to bring the words to you, and they're going to start from your heart. and go upwards instead of me trying to shove them down through your head there, that connection. I'm going to open that 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 magic place, and it's going to start in your heart, and then it's going to go towards your mouth. And so I'm very, very, very grateful for that, because I never know what I'm going to, even on this podcast. This is exactly. Someone just said to me on TikTok. They said, "Where? Oh, wait a minute. I want to bring that back." They said, "Stop listening to yourself, but really share." I'm like, dude, I've been doing that from the beginning. Yeah, I like the sound of my voice, by the way. I do. I mean, like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. And the mission, in case you didn't know, is about helping others. I've also had another member who also fell off the wagon, and he got back on fairly quickly. And I told him, I said, hey, if you want, you can listen to my podcast. And he listened. I don't know how many shows he's listened to, but he came back to me and said, wow, he said, that's really good. It's really helpful. Well, he said it in French. He said, c'est bon. So I'm interpreting that as it's good and helpful, right? It's good and helpful. Because Bill and Bob, 91 years ago, they had it. They said when one alcoholic meets another alcoholic and is able to share when they're able to share their stories, that's how they recover. Because if one alcoholic talks to a person who's not an alcoholic, that person doesn't know. So then the other alcoholic doesn't feel understood, and they're like once more being projected into that world. No one gets me. No one understands me. So now you know what? I'm going to go and get distracted into my own little world full of booze. But when another alcoholic meets another alcoholic, I know what you're going through, man. I get it. And O, who's looking to join, I thought about that. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to sit down with her and we're just going to talk, because I'm an alcoholic. And if she's considering to join the fellowship because she understands that there's things that need to be fixed, then we can have a meeting. We don't have to bring her to the meeting. We can just have a meeting. That's all that counts. It's the new, it's the us. When you join the fellowship, when you become a member, when you decide, and the only entrance fee to get in is the desire to want to stop drinking. That's it. The desire. La seule condition pour être membre chez les AA, c'est le désir d'arrêter de boire. I'm not trying to be fancy. This is how we say it in French. So in English, the only condition in order to join the fellowship, the membership, is the desire to stop drinking. That means if you happen to be stoned and smashed out of your head and you go into a meeting and you're fucking plastered, that's all right. Because you have the desire. You haven't gotten there yet, but that's all right. Go to a meeting. There was a fellow earlier on TikTok who said that he today had stopped smoking pot. Great. That's the desire. Go find out where the meeting is. There's a meeting guide. Find out and go to the meeting. That's it. That's all. You don't need more. You don't need to show your income tax report. You don't need to say that you drink about 3 times a week. It doesn't matter. When I joined the meeting, the movement, the fellowship, that's almost like Christopher Walken things. When I joined the meeting, the movement, the fellowship. Yeah, okay, that was good. When I joined that, I was convinced that I was a hypocrite. I was convinced that I was fucking doing it for my own selfish reasons, which had nothing to do about purifying my soul, but mostly about finding others who don't drink. And yeah, I stopped drinking on my own for about 3-4 weeks. And thank goodness I went to that meeting, because I know, James, I know that if I wouldn't have joined that, maybe 3 months, 4, 5, let's say 6 tops on my own, without a system, still feeling the shit inside that I felt because I hadn't purified my soul, I would have been drinking. I would have been fucking at a bar, miserable, fucking hitting on God knows what at what time of the night, whatever, and then keeping that happy face, right? Because then when you wake up the next morning and you see your friends and you're like, okay, it's afternoon now. I gotta look happy and everything. And I would have started to believe that I was happy. But then again, the same thing would happen. Hey, want a beer? Yeah, have a beer and then another beer. Then you're like, and then by then you're like, you know what? I don't get it. People say they say I'm an asshole. I don't know why. Fuck, don't touch me. Don't fucking touch me. I don't like it when you fucking touch me. I don't know why they say I'm an asshole. Yeah. Yeah. So for the person who was there before earlier on TikTok, yeah, I do recognize you because I was that person. And I don't want to say I was, like, I'm not that person. I still am. It's just that I've developed all these tools now that allows me to recognize that when I am that person, when I'm in my mind, when I'm fucking obsessed with shit that doesn't even happen, I know that I need to find the balance. And this is what this episode is all about. And this episode was actually supposed to be about several other subjects, but clearly, once again, I've lost the balance. I've lost. It's like you can't find the equilibrium. That's what really matters. I remember I was at the bar. What do you mean you were at the bar? I was watching the show. And as the band was playing, I guess they were playing a song that I kind of liked, but I didn't like that much. And for some reason, the music's really loud. I decide that now is a good time for me to practice my Christopher Walkens. Now, if you're on YouTube listening, great. This might be a time where you can go to the screen if I'm not too jittery, because I don't know how that taping is. But so when you do Christopher Walken, you got the mannerism. But even if you don't have the mannerism, you have the words that just the pop, right? So imagine there's like music going on, blah, people dancing, and then there's this one guy sitting at the bar stool drinking his grapefruit juice or whatever, orange and cranberry, I think it was. And he's like, wow, I'm practicing how to talk. And of course, I can actually use my voice because the music's so loud, no one's hearing it. But if you were to look at me, you'd be like, what is this guy? Is he autistic? Is he having, what the fuck is wrong with him? He sounds like, what? So that clearly to me was one of those moments where, all right, not that it was autistic, but it was clearly one of those places where it wasn't the right time to do that. But I was in my mind. I was like, oh, you know what? So balance. That would have been another one. Oh, you balance. Hey, dude, you're in a show. It's not time to practice doing Christopher Walkens because you don't like the music. Just find accept that this song, which was not a terrible song, but I remember it wasn't a song that drew me in. So I was like, okay, I tuned out and literally went, I'm out. Christopher Walken's in. Wow, it's good. It's good. It's coffee. It's good. It's hot. Burns. Wow. I gotta listen to more often. That's Christopher Walken. He's hard to understand and do, imitate, recreate, personalize. I like him. He's audio. I don't know. So, yeah, balance. So the next time you're in a situation and you're like, okay, this is my instincts tell me, maybe you can ask yourself that question. All right, my instincts are telling me this. What if I was to put it on a balancing scale? Would it be appropriate right here, now and then, to do such? And if the answer falls into that gray category, maybe it's best you don't do that. I don't know. I'm not an expert. But I am. I could say, I just want you to know, as president, the commander-in-chief, the leader I love the podcast. I love what you're doing, Phoenix. Phoenix, rising from the ashes. You understand. You get me. You understand. No, I don't. But thanks for the compliment. I'm Sean Connery. Yeah, okay. I know you're Sean Connery. Thanks for the compliment too. I didn't compliment you. Okay. Thanks, Sean. And don't forget me. Very important. Without me, you wouldn't have all the kitchen gadgets and all that. Yeah, and I wouldn't have the server that serves. Am I correct? Oh, you're starting to get it. Yet the servers that serves. Yes. Is there any technical other stuff that you know, Vishnu? Well, I know the internet nets. Thanks, Vishnu. I appreciate that. So, on this note, we're at 55 minutes. My goodness, time flies by. It's too late for me to bring another subject in, and we've already talked about 50 minutes on the subject of balance. So we're gonna obviously we've went off balance. It's off the kilt, kilt. But I'm happy you had today's both these tapings. Well, this taping and the one prior to that. I want to make sure that you are aware that you can leave your comments on YouTube now. And I know, well, I fell on the comments of someone. So I know I have an idea of where to go look for them now. And I'll go look for them. And when you do leave a comment, it's good because the algorithm of YouTube says, hey, you know what? People are engaging. People are enjoying this. So, that's a good thing. And we have the channel on Facebook, so you want to go to Serenity Winds with an S right now, but starting next week, it'll be the Z. Because back then, I didn't have Vishnu to help me figure out some of the logistics of social media. If you want to buy, because you can't rent it, if you want to purchase some really nice furniture, house decorations, stuff for your living room, your bathroom. Yeah, they got soap dispensers and they got little trays. They got sushi trays. They got wooden trays. They got, you could put it on the table, cutting boards. They got wooden spoons. They got salad bowls. They got, they got chairs. They got couches. They got these really nice. The nice shell chair. It's really beautiful. They got the strap chair too. That's an awesome chair too. Oh, they got the Nordique. The Nordique is an awesome wooden chair. It's you sit in that chair and you feel like you've arrived. I don't know where, but you've arrived. You're like the king of your home, or the queen, because we know that Serenity Winds is for everybody. Well, with the promo code that you see on this YouTube screen here, cruiseaway.ca, for your 10% discount, use the promo code SWD10, as in Serenity Winds discount 10, and you will get a 10% discount when you go into the shopping cart. They'll ask you to put a promo code. Put that code. They will give you 10% discount. And this also goes for my TikTok people. So the people on TikTok, if you want to go and do some shopping on cruiseaway.ca, you go for it. You're also allowed. This applies to all Canadian shoppers. From the East Coast there, got the lobster getting talking cage there, to the West Coast. Yeah, we're just going to be surfing down and going down on the beach and doing that thing. It's good for everybody. And finally, or almost finally, this podcast is not at all sponsored, associated, or affiliated with any nonprofit organization such as Alcoholics Anonymous. It's really important that I say this and I stress this, because this movement, the fellowship, it's all about people who want to help themselves. So they can't be attached to any sort of controversy. Far from the podcast having any controversy. I'm just saying it's not, whatever. They can't take donations, right? They can't associate themselves. Even if you have a great company like Google, or maybe that's not a great example, but let's say there's like a juice or whatever, they cannot be associated with any company. So it's not just me, it's like any company because it's all about the people within. It's about our movement. It's about when I go to a meeting and I decide to put a $5 into as they pass the little bag and then you put your money, that it's like I decide to do that. That's what's financing our group, right? And then moves on. And then all this to say that I can't be associated. And that's why. Now, and this is all a brainchild of mine. So, and I love doing a podcast. So there you go. Bada bing, bada boom. So we're gonna finish the show. Most likely, we're actually gonna. This is the first time we're gonna have a show, and it's gonna be. Oh no, I thought it was gonna be like an hour right on the money, but it's not because it's still a little bit longer than that. I want to finish off with my. Oh, almost forgot. Almost forgot. I got to talk about one of the 12 steps program because part of this journey is also about helping others become aware of not only the program, but also the fellowship. And within the fellowship, there's this 12-step program. So today I want to share number 2. And I think number 2 can scare some folks. Like if you're a non-believer, I get that. But there's also a chapter in the AA, the big book for agnostics. It doesn't matter the name, the identity that you just have to find the higher power. They call it the higher power. So step number 2 is that we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, in French, it sounds a little better. Nous sommes venus à croire que seule une puissance supérieure à nous pouvait nous rendre la raison. And I think in the old English, it's even better because instead of greater power, they talk about the higher self. I personally prefer the higher self. So step number 2 is about understanding that if you've been doing something all your life on your own and it hasn't worked, most likely it's because you're all on your own. The moment that you begin to invite the possibility of your higher self, or whatever you want to call it, the energy, the source, I call him JD, the God, whatever. But the moment that you begin to open the idea that there's something else out there, you're suddenly accompanied. You are no longer alone. And that makes a huge difference. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience, but I'm also talking about people that I've witnessed come into the program. And again, I thought I was a spiritual person to begin with. And I realized, well, I might have been a little. So maybe this step number 2 wasn't a huge leap for me, but I didn't fully understand it until only like now am I applying it daily as much as I can. So that's step number 2. Now I can finish the show with my quote unquote closing. And before I do, let me just say thank you for liking and subscribing. Thank you for liking and sharing. We got a YouTube channel. We got a Facebook channel. We got an Instagram channel. We're going to get a Twitch channel. We're in a process of getting onto Spotify. So, hey, the more you click and like everywhere, the more it is for everyone. Because maybe someone out there is suffering, and maybe this podcast, maybe there's something that they can get from there to get them to go to their first meeting. Or maybe they're on the wagon. Maybe they're already in the bar. They've been in the program. They fell off the wagon, and maybe they're somewhere in the bar, and some guys are just listening to this podcast, but they keep hearing it. They're like, "What is that?" And the guy goes, "Oh, it's this crazy guy there. He's Serene Winds." Like, "What is that?" It's a podcast about He's like, fuck, I fell off the wagon. Yeah. And then he's like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to a meeting. I don't know. Maybe it's wishful thinking. It's the direction. That's where we're going. So if you do it well for the self, do it with respect for the all, and do it with the intention of humanity's love. This show is for everyone: alcoholics, non alcoholics, men, women. Look, if you happen to be of younger age and you're listening and you get something out of it, mazel tov. Great. This show is for everyone. I had a great time, folks. Time flies by. Oh, wait a minute. Let me bring back the spaceship. We had a good time listening to this podcast. Thank you again once more for Serenity Wind. Whoosh. All righty then. Okay, folks, have yourself a great week, and I will see you on episode number. What episode? Number 17. Yes. Cheers. Have a great one.